Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. It's the one and only V, the Guerrilla Economist, and I have with us the man of the hour. If you don't know him, it's John Jay Singleton, the AKA Mr. X, the legal the what do I call this guy? I call him my legal eagle. I call him the Punisher. That's who he is. He is the Punisher. He
Okay.
he is the I mean the
Okay.
John Jay shows up and let's just say the system quakes, they tremble, the knees knock. So John's been
Right.
working with me for quite a number of years. He's been instrumental in my life and the life of many of my clientele, saving their rear ends, preventing people from losing their livelihoods, their wealth, protecting people from everything, from financial ruination to asset forfeiture and all these other things. John is an incredible individual, a top end researcher. He knows the system, he knows how to work it, and one of his biggest talents is finding and creating income pools and streams of income when things are rough, when things are difficult. And right now, this is the new normal. This is about creating cash flow in the post COVID world. Now, whether COVID goes post, where we don't hear or see COVID anymore, or it's back and it stays here, we go to another lockdown. What this lockdown and what March all the way through right now, September, has taught us is that certain concepts of going into a cubicle, working 9 to 5 for the man, or sending your kids to school and not knowing what curriculum that they're actually learning, not knowing how efficacious their teachers are in terms of teaching them curriculum that matters. Because the last thing you want to do, folks, is spend tens of thousands of dollars in school tax per year. And what is happening is that your child is learning gay art therapy or African lesbian studies. It's weird. Or Mongolian squirrel mating habits and how that pertains to climate change. You don't want to be doing that. And one of the things that John and I are big proponents of is self-sufficiency. And the more self-sufficient you are, where you are self-sufficient in your income stream, where you can say, you know what, I have a business, I have an income stream. I don't need to worry about working for the man. I'm gonna work for myself. I'm gonna put destiny in my own hands. I'm gonna teach my own kids. These are the two vital things. And one of the things that John and I have come up with, and we're going to be doing a seminar next week. The email is in the description box. It's called Strat Life, Strategic Life. This is what everybody is asking us for. Where people are like, hey man, how do I set up a LLC? How do I operate an LLC? How do I deal with taxes? How do I deal with poor credit scores? How do I deal with getting capital? How do I deal with getting funding? How do I deal with collectors after me?
Mhm.
What do I have to do if I'm being sued? What if so and so is threatening me? What do I do? Well, we're going to teach you how to stop being a sheep. Okay? This is none of that fake guru YouTube garbage where you got some idiots who rent a Lamborghini and he's in his garage with a bookshelf in his garage because smart people don't have bookshelves in their garages, folks. That's not a place you put books. Okay, and telling you, hey, this is my 5 steps. No, there's no five. There's no easy steps to anything.
Right.
What it is you have to be smart and you have to work your balls off.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. So today, John's going to be teaching us a couple of things. We're going to be going back and forth. We're going to be discussing homeschooling. We're going to be discussing income opportunities, and we're going to be discussing our upcoming strategic life seminar. The info, again, the email is in the description box. Email us. You'll get a link. There's a small fee. That fee will cover us. It's seminar could be anywhere between 2 to 3 hours, and it's going to be on Wednesday. So you better be there or be square. And with that being said, my man, what's going on? How are you, John?
Maybe. Good, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you
Yeah,
want to begin,
entrepreneur.
bro?
Well, generally, people should really look at opportunities around, even in their own neighborhood, to
Yeah.
make more money or just to get involved in things that are going on in their neighborhood. But I think we're seeing that, like you just said, you got to be hands-on now. You can't just have a babysitting daycare service that we call the public school system,
Right.
and everything's good, and then your kid graduates, and then you go borrow some money and go to college. It's not going to fly.
Right.
And as far as your income goes, who knows how that's going to play out? You don't like my uncle, he worked at GM and they just about had destroyed the retirement pension program right right after he died. They finished that. So he
Jeez.
he survived that, but I knew that was changing. I mean, it's all collapsing. So you're right. I mean, you're not going to find a job with a cubicle, and just because you have letters after your name, you have a career, and then you can just retire and travel Europe. You got to be hands on. You got to learn some new skills.
Absolutely right. The bygone era of working for a company for the rest of your life, those days are pretty much over. And it's a new day. And if people can get proficient, I mean, whatever you got to do with an income stream, you create a business, maybe you learn how to trade, whatever the heck it is you got to do, you start doing it, you're going to make a positive bottom line effect in your personal income, John. And I think that's what people need to understand. And look, like you and I were talking before we went live. One of the things I said is, there's an old saying, especially when it comes to schooling, when it comes to your children, folks, you don't lose your kids, you give them away.
Hmm.
Remember that. You give them
Yeah.
away because you were lied to. You give them away because the system told you that both mommy and daddy have to work. You give them away
Yeah.
because the system has taught you, oh, give your kids to us. We will teach them. We will no and what's happening is that your kids are not being taught, they're being indoctrinated.
Yeah. 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 And so think of this. I mean, you make enough money. Typically, people are going to make enough money to live.
Right.
So if you can make enough money to live and you know that you can do that, you've already proven that. Why couldn't you make twice as much money than you need to live? Just plan to do that. And I'm not saying you need a lot of money for anything, but you don't need to be locked into the default assumptions that people have, that you think that because your educational background, you can only make so much money. I ask people, how much do you want to make? And they really don't know they never thought of it that before. And I say, well, what is going to serve your purposes? Is it $2,000 a month? Let's look at it that way. And so we come up with a number, and I say, okay, let's find out how to make that. And then find out how much you're willing to, much of your time are you willing to put into it? Because sometimes it does require 30 hours a week, or sometimes it only requires 2 hours a week. It just depends. And so you can, just like shopping for something, you can actually shop for more income. And once you understand that, once you can believe that, then it's just a matter of assembling the way to do that.
Yep. Absolutely right. So, folks, there's a plethora of opportunities and businesses out there that people could do, especially now that you don't need brick and mortar. And that's the big thing. I mean, look at the power of the internet as when it comes to product, when it comes to services. It's remarkable. When it comes to education, it's remarkable. So, John, what are some of the things that you have helped clients with in regards to finding income stream and creating businesses? And then we could talk about schooling and some of the ideas that you have.
Okay. The very basic is I start with something that people are not going to be in their minds believe that it's impossible. So I start with something that they can see. So an easy one is where someone went to the trouble of, in the last 2 years, built up retail sales on a website, and now there's a sales trend that's documented, and you can have it analyzed by a broker so that you don't have to learn how to read a financial statement. And this, you can buy that organization for sometimes nothing,
Hmm.
or 2,000 or $5,000, and many times, almost always, you can have the seller finance it. So basically, I like to look at a website that's already functioning. I buy the website. It costs me 3 months of sales into the future, so I'm not even coming up with money out of pocket. And
Yeah.
then after on that fourth month, I get my net, whatever the net is. And so how much, that's what we figure out. How much do you want, money do you want? 2,000 a month? Okay. Well, here's a business that makes $4,500 a month and nets 2,000 a month. And the person wants $5,000 for it. So it will take you literally, 1 month to buy the business,
Wow.
or two, whatever.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
so that's what I start with. Look for things like that. Now, if you want to, maybe you're just detest technology and websites and merchant accounts. Okay, then get involved with somebody who's already doing something. And I'm talking about if you're just beginning, you've never really done this before, don't reinvent the wheel. Connect with somebody. Like if you see, let's say, for example, you have a person that comes out and pressure washes your house,
Sure.
and it's a small business. So you start talking to them, and you see how you can possibly have a conversation. And I'm not just making this up. V, you do this too, right? You just talk to people, and something develops from that, and you make an arrangement, and before you know it, you're in the deal, and you can make some money.
Yeah.
And all things can develop from that. So you look at a service, and you start talking to the worker, the owner, and find out what kind of business it is, and ask if, make a proposal like, hey, what could you guys handle some more business? I like what you're doing. Maybe I can bring you some more of my neighbors. They see you working over here. Would you like to put a sign in my yard? Well, they do that anyways, right? A lot of them, if they're good, if they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well, what if you went out of your way a little bit and did a direct mail at your own expense and sold some contracts to do that type of work, or something like painting or whatever? You sold the contracts from the comfort of your own home, you know, it's in your neighborhood. And if you put your name on there, maybe your neighbors like you, hopefully your neighbors like you, and you can say, hey, they came to my house and they did this great thing. And if you guys, think, would like to look at what I'm talking about, call them up. And so you can get the contract and sell it to him, or you can lead people to him, and anybody in that neighborhood then creates a commission for you. And I'm not saying that's a career. I'm just saying that's an example of how to start something up that you never thought of before. And then maybe if you understand more about that business, you might want to get into the suppliers for that business. Who's selling the pressure washers? Who's
Mm.
selling the chemical detergents? Right? And it goes on from there.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that's one of the importance of having the right kind of coaching and knowing what to do to scale up so you're much more effective.
Mhm.
John, what else have you seen that people are out there, and what are some of the opportunities that have popped in your radar screen, and some of the thoughts? If you could share with us some of the thoughts you've had, and I know you're one of the smartest guys I know. What are some of the thoughts you've had during this quote unquote lockdown, as we see the tyranny of the state, as they're putting us into basically open air prisons in some states like
Yeah,
California? What
yeah.
have you seen can what the average person can do to create income, but also to protect themselves? Because a lot of people, oh, John, you and I say this all the time, man. If you're in your 40s, folks, and you're still using a personal checking account and you're still using personal credit, you ain't doing it right. You ain't doing it right.
Yeah.
John, why don't you talk to some of those ideas and some of the power behind LLC and corporate formation?
Well, those things are just tools to isolate yourself and personal liability from things you care about, from money, from use of money, cash flow, things like that. I talk to so many people, and they'll just tell me things like, "Yeah, the IRS levied my account for $27,000," and I just know that when I tell them that that didn't ever have to happen because they just had the wrong type of account,
Yep,
I know that they get that sick feeling like, "What? Why didn't I call you like 2 months ago?" But
exactly.
sure, it's being gaining more maturity as you get older. You start learning things, and hopefully you want to learn them in your 20s. The last generation is not going to tell us. My parents didn't tell us this stuff. I had to figure it out, and I figured it out. Fortunately for me, but unfortunately for the people that helped me learn it, they had the problem. And when I solved it, I realized that was a thing for everybody else. But yeah, really, I mean, there's no reason why you should not be having a little bit of sophistication dealing with money. And even for those of you who may not want cryptos, I think cryptos are a nice tool for many reasons,
You'd
even
have to be
estate
crazy
planning.
not to want cryptos at this point. You got to
Yeah.
be a nut not to want cryptos at this point. Like you have to be like stuck in the 19th century, some sort of gold and silver bug who's completely inflexible. It's like, Bitcoin, who needs that shit?
Yeah, I mean, you got to have some maturity because you're going to get wiped out. You're going to get wiped out in many ways. But other opportunities. What we're seeing here are the trends. Now, I don't like some of these trends, but let's just look at this in terms of being an entrepreneur. I see where restaurants are being stripped down to where they're going to operate like a kitchen and a drive-through. You're not going to have dine-in. Okay,
Yeah.
so how do you look at
Happening
that?
in many states, John.
It is.
Look at
So
New York City. Happening in many states.
that's right. It's already been done in China. They're turning restaurants into vending machines.
Yep.
So you can go either way. You can go along with that trend, which, in terms of money, fine. There's no real, like, you don't want to take a political stance. Just do it, right? It's going to make money. I think there's technology out there that makes it easy. But just the same, why can't you have a dine-in restaurant when the other dine-in restaurants are going away and you see the trend? Set up a dine-in restaurant, and guess who your patron is going to be? It's going to be a member of your private club. It's a club, but it's a restaurant and it's not open to the public. So
Yeah.
you can create a niche market for that type of patron. And I think that's the future, but the other way is the future too. And it's not hard to do. I mean, I always, you always hear me say that it's not hard to do.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, it it
you know,
it, it
you,
it really isn't.
it's not.
It's when you look at outdoor dining. I mean, what an opportunity! Like vending machines, food trucks, food
Food
carts.
trucks, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
A
mean,
lot of the
even if
food
you
carts are doing great in the city during lockdown.
even if you created a menu, okay, here's one way to get into that type of operation. And now I've never owned a restaurant, but I'm just saying, if you were to write a menu that would be feasible, okay, and there's some standards by which you would want to write a certain type of menu for a niche market. You write that menu and you market that menu and the suppliers for the menu, you market that to a restaurant and you work with
Yeah.
that restaurant to you then become like sort of a partner, right? So that is one way to get into that type of business, and you're taking advantage of these trends we see developing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly right. Exactly right. John, what are some of the ways, we touched base on a myriad of different things. Let's talk about one of the things that parents are really concerned about, and that's schooling. What are some of the ideas you have about that?
Well, I can tell you, you guys can agree or not, but I think you see this. There is no schooling. That's gone.
Yep.
Unless you like the idea of sending your children to, an ongoing building fire, you know, there's no school. So just face up to it. You're not going to negotiate with these demons at the school board. They're going to force your kids to wear masks, and if they don't wear masks, and I can tell you the stories right now. I've been hearing them. Uh, we were able to get our child in the school without wearing a mask, but now he's isolated, and then they put him in the room with everyone else, and they're 20 feet away in a big circle, and he's asking why, because he's
Jesus
7 years old. Or
Christ.
that's abuse. Come on. So take him out of the school. Stop that. Take him out. I
Wow.
don't care if it means you have to stay home. And I know it might be easy for me to say that, but you got to do what's right for your children. Now, when it comes to a job or something or another issue over that, the medical interventions, that you can deal with over time. But when it comes to your children, you don't want one moment of him experiencing that.
No.
He'll never forget that. So then what? Now he's at home, and maybe you're home, and maybe you have to take time to stay at home because he's at home, and you've got to school him. You want to talk to some neighbors and some other parents in the area and see if you can team up with them. And it wouldn't take but one or two other parents who feel almost the same way to agree that you guys can collaborate and put together material. And before you know it, within a few months, not even, you would have a curriculum that you can work with, and you will just have so much fun. I've done this for years. I love doing this. You will see, and it is a lifestyle change for many people, but it's worth the change.
Absolutely. What are some of the things that if parents are staying home with their kids, and this is why we bring this together, folks. This is why it's so important, because if we can help you create an additional income stream, that means both parents don't have to work. One parent could work their full-time job and have a part-time business that could generate $2,000-3,000 a month additional, which at the end of the day is $36,000 potentially. So imagine, John, if
Yeah.
some person would go to their boss and be like, "Hey, boss, can you give me a $36,000 a year raise?"
Right. Right.
you know, so
Just
you
because,
have
right.
a way, folks. All right, you have a way here where mom, dad, let's figure out a way. Contact us, and we're going to tell you about the upcoming seminar. Contact us. Info at Strat Life. That's Strategic Life. Info at stratlife.co. Emails in the description box, and we're going to teach you. We're going to teach you how to create those income streams where you're getting $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month. And this way, the other spouse, whether it's mom or dad, most usually it's mom, because mom has the patience and the tolerance and the wherewithal to sit there and deal with kids. Mom could stay home, and she can be the teacher with the help
Yeah.
of the internet. Because I'm sorry, John, no matter Google Assistant is smarter than any Harvard PhD.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a lookup table, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. You could make money at this, like homeschooling, for example. You can make money at it if that's your intention, but you can also participate in it, and you can break even too. You don't have to make it a huge enterprise. You can have like 20 parents involved or 5 parents involved. Look at all the vacant commercial spaces available in your neighborhood. We got too much inventory here. We got too many strip malls that are vacant. I can make a great deal lease agreement because it's vacant. It's a huge alligator on the owner. I can get that spot, and I can bring in 20 kids, and I can do memberships for the families. I can do memberships or per hour leasing, subletting out to tutors and teachers that are fed up with the school system and they still want to teach, right? I can
right,
have a facility with sponsors. I can have cash flow from sponsorships. I can have cash flow from families with tutors. I can have all kinds of cash flow. I can have a couple of parents work with me, and we go in there with the lease agreement, and then we have cash flow coming through. And now imagine having 3 or 4 or 5 kids in a class, and you're doing it and you're recording it. Now that becomes uh, content that you can license out for thousands of times a day around the world. How much money can you make from that content? You just
Mm,
need a few kids to show up and do some classes in algebra. Go online right now and see how many free classes are in algebra. So there's competition out there, and the market's quite popular right now. But you can make a market where people will pay for your schooling for algebra or whatever the subject is, and then you can outsource to lab sessions where if some chemistry students need lab work, you can get that done too at the facility, right? So it goes on and on and on. That's just an example.
yeah, yeah, exactly. John, what is in terms of how would one structure this if they were going to do any business? How would just real quick? How would they? Was the basic thing people could do to protect their incomes and to make sure that they're protected against incomes and levies, liens, you name it. And
Okay,
then we could
well, sure.
plug our upcoming seminar, how people
Okay.
could contact us and whatnot. Go for it, John.
Well, the basics are that, I mean, I've told some people before, just get something working. Start making some money. Don't worry about all the companies and stuff like that. But just the same, at some point, you're going to want to organize it in a way where the company assets are separate from yourself. Now,
Mm,
that's just the very basic, because sometimes you need other measures to protect against specific risks. And I couldn't tell you what that could be because it could be thousands of things, but you'll figure that out as time goes on.
sure.
But yeah, basically, you want a structure that handles money and property rights, intellectual property rights. Maybe you develop copyrights or things like that. I don't think you want to put in your name because imagine all the things you've done in your lifetime and all the things you could be accused of just because you're a human being. All the
Yeah.
things that people could sue you for, even by mistake, all the ID theft issues, things that could just happen accidentally, right?
Yep.
Why not isolate those things from yourself, and then the business or thing that's going to be of value to you? That's the way to do it as a company.
Exactly. Last but not least, I'm gonna share a little shocker, folks. A lot of you are scared. A lot of you are scared crapless because you believe this imaginary thing called debt. You believe this imaginary thing called credit. My wake up call, John, I think I've shared this with you, was back in 2008, in the height of the financial collapse, when I read and I saw the story of a young doctor in California. He had a wife and 3 kids. He lost everything in the stock market crash. I mean, wiped out, John. I mean,
Mm,
his accounts went into the negatives.
yeah, yeah,
Hard body.
wow.
He thought he was going to lose it all. His house was leveraged to the hilt. Everything he had, he put it in the market like an idiot
Hmm.
and stupid. He was financially ruined, and he knew that if he tries to go through bankruptcy, they would take whatever little assets he had left,
Right.
and it would take him forever, a lifetime, to even
Hmm.
build back what he's lost. So on the way home from his work, after he left the hospital, he stopped by and he got himself a firearm. He went home. He shot his wife. He shot his 3 daughters. Then he ate his own gun
Wow.
because he thought,
Uh, uh,
I'm financially ruined, because he thought my credit score is jacked up. There's no hope for me.
wow.
I'm gonna have to go through bankruptcy. And folks, they lie to you. They say in 10 years it'll be clear. No, let
Mm,
me explain to you, folks. A lot of people knock China and their social credit score. I am no fan of China's social credit score, but you know how as evil as China's social credit score is, there's a way for people to fix it. There's a way that if you're a good little slave, you're a good little compliant citizen in the People's Republic, and you dot your T's and you dot your I's, you cross your T's, you walk your dog with a leash, and you don't say anything bad about the government, your score will go up. At least in communist China, that happens, right, John?
yeah.
But in the United
Yeah.
States
Well.
of America, let me explain something to you, folks. When you slip through the cracks and your credit score is jacked up and you're facing bankruptcy, folks, when you're facing financial ruin, and your credit score is gone, you're fucked. Pardon mon français. Excuse my French. You are fucked. Because you slip through the cracks and there's no recourse. There's no getting out of it. And I've talked to many people, even some people like, yo, I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank, but I can't even buy a house. I can't even rent because I'm living in this one-bedroom apartment. What the hell do I do? Folks, credit is not real. What if John and I were to tell you that your credit score, John, you can back me up on this one. Your credit score, folks, which is generated by the naval algorithm out of Annapolis, Maryland, has been since before even World War II, right? Or shortly thereafter.
Yeah, right.
Your credit score is not only used by you, it's used by multiple of different entities, maybe even other individuals. You don't believe me? Go to a bank. Go to your personal bank and say, hey, look up my account. Okay, so what's your account number? No, I don't want to give you my account number. I'll give you my social security number. And guess what? They can't pull it up. They need, in order for them to do a search in your own bank, they need what do they need? Give me the last four of your social. Give me your date of birth. Give me your full name. Give me your address and your mother's maiden name. And based upon the triangulation of that data, voila, here comes your account. And it's like that with every financial institution. And that is the proof that your credit score is used multiply. John, I did an experiment. I went to AutoZone. I went to Walmart. I went to a few other places where you got to get those membership cards, this, that, and the other, right? Buyer cards, right?
Yep.
And I went to like my local grocery store, and I gave a fake name.
Okay.
As an experiment, I was demonstrating this to a client. I was like, "Watch this." I gave a fake name. 6 months passed by. I pulled my credit report. I showed it to my client. I said, "See, look at this. The fake name that I used was automatically pulled into my credit report as an alias for me." Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
It's all data triangulation.
Right.
So the whole credit thing, folks, is fixable. It's not exclusively used by you, number one. Number two, and I'll get into this in the seminar exactly how it works, but it's 1,000% fixable. And there's ways, and John, I've been codifying how to fix credit. I'm going to offer this out to people. I used to do it years ago for personal clients and whatnot. I don't have the time to do it. I've outsourced it to other outfits. Some are successful. Some don't know what they're doing. Others don't do follow up, and there's others who are really good, but you got to pay through the nose, and they'll get it done in 15 to 30 days.
Yeah.
But the rudiments of it is very simple. Everything on your file is disputable. So if we take away if between John and myself, we take away the fear of having your credit report destroyed, and we take the fear of you, oh my God, a collector's going to sue me. What do I do? Folks, let me explain something to you. John and I have so much fun with that. I remember where you have collectors literally knock on the door on my door, or, hey, so and so here, and I literally look at them and laugh and walk in without even acknowledging them. Without even acknowledging them. It's not real, folks. That's the gist of what I'm trying to tell you. And once you realize that this is a game, that credit is fake and debt is fake, it's not real. You're in a debt-based system. In a debt-based system, none of this is real. There's all loopholes. And you all have heard the story of the stockbroker, in Wall Street, who declared bankruptcy 1 week, and then the following week he's leasing a Bentley. How does that happen? Well, we're going to teach you. And you're going to learn very quickly that when you're in your 40s or in your 30s and you're still using personal credit and you have a personal checking account, my friend, you are doing it wrong, and you're asking for Uncle Sam and every single person on planet Earth to bend you over the table and screw you. John, go ahead.
Well, what do I say to that? I mean, sure. The whole thing's a game is the way I look at it. It's a game. And where people have problems is they don't understand that they're being played. Just like this one gentleman, he was I told him what to do on an IRS situation. I totally got it situated where he didn't have to pay the IRS. It was already set up. And then he calls me like 2 years later, never called me in between, and wanted me to help him more. And I said, well, what else did you need? He goes, well, I just paid the IRS $50,000. And I said, for what? He goes, well, they put a lien on my house. And I said, okay, well, is the lien still there? Yeah. Well, why did you pay him? What did you get out of it? Nothing. Well, why'd you pay him? He goes, I don't know. There was a lien. But what was the need? And I thought I made that clear to him in the beginning. So I see a lot of times people just do things because I don't know. There's no reason. Maybe they
Right.
feel better. I don't know. So you are participating in your own demise
Yeah.
is I think what you're really getting at, and you don't have to do that. The problem people have is they don't know what else to do.
Right.
What do I do now? Like a woman with ID theft, and I don't normally like to do this, but you can set up a whole new ID, but I don't do that
Yes.
unless, yeah, and she needed it, and it made sense for her. I don't market it like that, but you can do a whole new ID, and she's going to be responsible and do it the right way. So we did that, but you'd be surprised. There are so many things you can do, which I do as a matter of course, anyways, and I show people how to do it. I deliberately don't have good credit because I'm
Same
telling
here.
people, yeah,
Same
I
here.
mean, why
My
would
credit's
I want
trash,
to
and
do
I
that?
don't care. My
Yeah.
credit, John. My credit is trashed, and I
Yeah.
drive a BMW M5.
Yeah, and same. I
Okay.
do that too. I do things like that. But if you look at my credit, it's not like I have a lot of debt collections. What happens is there's nothing on my credit. I mean, it looks
Right.
like I've been hiking the Appalachian Trail for 6 years.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, and I remember one time I went into a dealer and I just said, this time I'm not going to use up all my cash on a car because normally I would pay cash, which is not recommended. But I go in there and I'm saying I'm just gonna borrow the money, at least half of it, so that way I can use my money for something else. So he pulls my credit and he goes, man, this looks like you just arrived on Earth.
Yeah.
You ever used credit before? And I was like 35 or 40 when I did
Hmm.
this. And he goes, well, I don't know if I can lend you the money for this car. It was a new car. And so I said, well, how much more do you need me to put down? And of course, that's what he wanted me to say. So I just put more money down, but he
Right.
still gave me the loan. I just had to put more money down, and I didn't
Right.
care because I just didn't want to put all the money down. You
Right.
know,
Right.
so that's what I'm talking about when And so what good is that?
Yeah.
That means I'm not gonna get my butt kicked by a bunch of socialists that want to put me in a scoring system. Yeah, I do have to work a little bit harder. Like I'm in a house right now where I'm renting the house.
Yeah.
I got rid of everything. I started renting, and instead of going through 2 or 3 houses to find this one, I went through about 20, and it
Hmm.
was a little frustrating, I have to admit. And it just so happened that we showed up here and we talked to the owner, and my wife and the owner had a nice conversation, and she was just liked us, and she said, "Hey, I'll rent it to you guys," and
Hmm.
didn't even ask us to sign anything. And
Right.
we've been here for almost 5 years, so you want to be open to those things and not think you're trapped into a certain system. It is in your mind.
Yep.
It's fictitious.
It is. It is absolutely fictitious. And a lot of people say, "Well, you know what? You know my favorite line is, John."
Right.
uh, my clients know this, and my clients have figured this out. But my favorite line is when somebody comes up to me like, "Hey V, I just bought a brand new house," and I start laughing at them. Like, "Shut up, you fool! You didn't buy anything. You bought a mortgage."
Right.
Folks, let me explain something to you. I rent. I rent a very nice house in upstate New York. I have all the benefits of a home and none of the liabilities and risks. And if you were to ask the gorilla, will you rather have $1 million home or $1 million business? I will take $1 million business any day of the week. A home is a liquid. It is a noose around your neck, and
Yeah.
you can never own it. You can never own
Yeah.
it. Okay. Oh, I love when people come up to me and say, I paid my mortgage off. Okay. Stop
Oh
paying
my
your
gosh.
property tax, and you'll find out who owns
Right.
what real quick.
Right.
Okay.
And that is not a good use of capital anyways. I mean, we can
No,
talk about that too. To pay off personal debts is not a good use of capital. And people say, well, isn't that responsible? And I say, that's stupid.
it's
You're
stupid.
stupid.
Yeah.
You need some debt
Yes, you
because
do.
yeah. And then we can go on about, that and getting assets and all that sort of thing. But managing risk involves getting into debt, which is the opposite of what people think. You
Exactly.
have to go into debt to manage financial risk.
Exactly correct. Exactly correct. And and the difference between the wealthy and the middle class, the wealthy accumulate assets. the middle class accumulate liabilities.
And they do it with other people's money.
Yep.
I
Yep.
even tell people,
That's the other thing. That's the
just
other thing.
because you have just because you have cash to pay for an asset doesn't mean you should, or if you do, always plan on a financing arrangement. Get
Bingo.
financing quickly.
Yep.
At least half of it. You should be easily, once you acquire the asset, like a hotel or something, it'd be easy to get 50% from a hard money lender.
Yeah.
And so what? You just run the numbers into your deal and it'll make sense.
Right.
So what if it's hard money?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Very well said, John. Very well said. Last closing comments. Go for it, and we'll talk real quick and
Well,
plug the seminar.
I think we want to blow your mind. I think V and I are going to blow your mind. We're going to tell you some things you never heard of before. Or maybe you have heard of some of the things, and they're going to sound like the opposite is true. But your whole life you've been told opposite things that are not true, the things you've been believing. So hopefully we're going to blow your mind.
Absolutely right. And we're going to teach you how to leverage money. We're going to teach you how to create income streams. We're going to teach you about how credit really works. We're going to teach you how to stop being a sheep and stop being a debt slave. That's the most important thing. And that's it. The whole soup to nuts, you guys are going to find out. So the email is right there. Go ahead and email us. The space is limited. We're capping it. This is going to be the first seminar. We're going to have successive seminars afterwards. But the first one, we're going to structure it out and whatnot. But the first one is going to be capped at about 100 seats. Okay, so make sure you get in there. It's very limited, very exclusive, and it's filling up very quickly. So get there. Email me. I'll send you the link. I'll get on the phone with you, talk to you a little bit more about how the whole thing works, and we will take it from there. Because I'll tell you right now, guys, you want to have as less liability as possible in this world. In this world where a lot of people think, oh, I'm safe. I got a house, this and the other. What's going to happen when the real estate market pops and your house is worth 60% of what you paid for, and you're still paying a mortgage on it? One of the greatest things my mentor told me, John, is never throw good money on bad money.
Absolutely. Yeah, know when to quit.
Yep.
Absolutely. I have that conversation every day with many people. Yep.
Without a doubt. And so, folks, email us. Get that link out there. John and I are on there. info@stratlife.com. And also, you can check out John's channel, privacyfight.com. Privacyfight.com is the website, and Privacyfight, the YouTube channel. Check it out. They are partners with us. Again, John's at least 3-4 years at this point, buddy. Huh?
Yeah, looks like it. Yeah. That's a long time. Yeah.
It's a long time. So join us. Let's make it happen. And with that being said, we're over and out. Thank you all for listening. See you all Wednesday. Mark it in your calendar. Cheers.